Hello, it's Dawn here from Dawn's Inspirations. If you haven't pressed subscribe to my YouTube channel, please do. Press the subscribe button and you'll see everything that's happening. Now, as a lot of you know, I've already done my weekend album retreat. This is my mini album retreat. Not so mini, as you can see, a good substantial book. When I did this retreat, I designed a new cover system. This has got a chipboard cover. However, it doesn't have a chipboard spine. It's really easy to do. I designed this to go with this project because I wanted to show the ladies you can quite easily design or have a chipboard cover, but without the heartache of is your paper, or in this case I'm using cardstock, going to rip. It's a really easy system, so I thought I would share it with you. So for the main part, you can either use mount board or you can use grey board, okay, whatever you've got to hand. Now, I'm not going to give you measurements per se, because you can make these covers in any size you like. And if I go and give you measurements, there's going to be a whole table of measurements. But it's a really quick and easy rule of thumb that I'm going to teach you. So the first thing you're going to need to do is to cut 2 pieces of chipboard into the size that you want your album cover to be. Okay, that's the main thing you're going to do, whether I'm doing a portrait one here, whether it's a square one like I've done in the retreat, doesn't matter. So cut your chipboard to the size you want your album cover to be. But do bear in mind that your actual cover is going to be a little bit bigger than the chipboard itself. Okay, so like here, I wanted to create an album cover that was big enough for my book, but my chipboard is slightly smaller. You can't see that that is about 1/4 of an inch smaller. It's so strong because I'm using actual cardstock. You've got no problems with your corners or anything because we've used cardstock. Right, so let me share with you. So the first thing you're going to do is to cut your chipboard to the size you want. I have then attached some double-sided adhesive to the back of my chipboard. Okay, I'm using Crafter's Companion double-sided adhesive. I've used all mine up, otherwise I would have shared a packet with you. I had a new packet here somewhere and I can't find it, which is typical. But it's A4 inch sheets and it's double-sided adhesive and it is really strong. And for any of you that have followed my retreat workshop, you'll see how I've used it, and I've actually used it in place of red line tape as well. Now again, don't get too hung up if your edges of your chipboard are frayed. Don't panic about this, and I'm going to show you why. This is where it's so easy to do. Now I like to actually cut my chipboard. If I bring a scrap in here, I've got my trimmer. This is with, I keep this trimmer just for that because it's got an old blade in it, and I find with my Fiscus trimmer the channel is deeper, which is perfect for chipboard. So say if I'm cutting a piece of chipboard, I've got a piece of scrap here from what I've been using. So if I pop that in at 4 inches, go up and down a few times with your old blades, okay, and that's going to cut part the way through. Turn it over and go back in to your 4 inches, up and down again a few times, and then you'll see it quite easily will break. So don't panic if you've got all this fraying on here, because we're going to cover all that. You can snip it off if you want, but don't get hung up about it. That's why this system is just so quick and easy, less fuss. So don't panic about that. So let me bring my piece of chipboard in, and I'm not going to cut mine off. I'm going to leave mine as is. So I've got my cover. The next thing I need to do is to grab some cardstock. I've got some white cardstock here. This is 300 GSM. This is what I'm going to use for my cover. So I'm going to bring my scoreboard in. Okay, as I say, I'm not going to give you measurements per se, because every book you want to design is going to be different. So I've just used some 12 by 12 because I know that's going to wrap around it. If you're doing a smaller book, you can use A4. So let me find I've lost my original score tool. I have to get another one ordered from the lovely Heather, who does my Stampin' Up stuff for me. So first thing you need to decide with your album is how wide you want your spine to be. So your spine, for any newbies out there, is the bit at the back of the cover. So you need to decide how wide you're going to have it. So I'm going to have mine 2 inches wide. So the first score line, getting it all butt up, is your 2 inches. I'm not doing in inches and centimetres for this, because this is just showing you the technique. You can do this then to any measurement you like. So I'm hoping that's picking up the lines. So I've done a 2 inch score line. You're now going to do your next score line for your piece of chipboard. So I know I've done this at 6 inches. So whatever you do, you're going to go ½ an inch, or if we're talking centimetres, about just over 1 centimetre. So I'd go probably 1.25 centimetres. Okay, so I've got my 2 inch, which is, this is going to be my spine, and then I need 6.5, so that's going to make that 8.5. Okay, because that's going to sit in the middle of there. And then I'm going to allow a flap over of 1.5 inches, which is 10. And I will trim that part off. Okay. You're then going to do your quarter turn, so we can do the rest of the measurements. So I've allowed 1.5 inches here, or the equivalent if you're doing centimetres. So I'm going to do 1.5 inches there. My piece of chipboard is 7 3/4, so I need to add on 8. So you need to add on another ½ inch. So if you've gone 1.5, which is your piece you're going to flap over, I'm then going to go 7 3/4, which will take me to my 9 1/4, but I'm allowing again that ½ inch. Okay, so you've gone 1.5, you've got your piece in the middle, which basically you've got 1/4 inch, your piece of chipboard 1/4 inch. So you've got your score line at 1.5, your next score line where you need it to be, so you've got 1/4 inch each side, and then I'm going to then do 1.5 this side, which will take me there. And then we will trim this off, and I will recap with you what you're going to do. So let me trim these pieces off that we don't need. I did it in white card thinking it might show up a bit better, but I'm probably thinking it doesn't. But we will see how you get on. When I score it, or when I burnish it, you'll see. So I'll tell you what I will do. Let me burnish this, because I think it will show up a bit better once I've burnished. So, as I said, I'm using 300 GSM card here. You could use your heavyweight papers if you wish, which I know a lot of you use for your covers. And we tend to use our heavyweight card for our covers purely because cardstock just rips and just gets ruined. But this system is going to open this totally up to you. Okay, this will mean you can do your covers out of cardstock and just add your pattern papers on the top. So let's just recap what we've done. So you can see it a bit better now. I've got the score lines going on there. So I've got my spine. I've got 1/2 inch bigger than my chipboard width. And then I've done a 1.5, which is going to be the fold over. And then on the other side, I've done the 1.5 inch. Again, the next score line then is going to be your chipboard size and another 1/2 inch. And then I've allowed another 1.5 inches. So you technically got that going on. Okay, so now let's bring you to the next bit you're going to need to do. So the next bit you're going to need to do is to get a piece of cardstock. And this is going to attach to our piece of chipboard. So what you're going to do with this cardstock is we need to cut it height wise the size of the chipboard. So I know my piece of chipboard on this one is 7 3/4. So again, it depends on the size covers you're doing. So basically you're going to have this the same height as your chipboard. So in fact I'm going to go around that way so I'm not wasting so much paper. So I've got that the same height as my chipboard. Okay, you're then going to need to, let's pop this back into our scoreboard because that's an easier way to show you. So I'm going to pop that in my scoreboard. You're now going to do your first score line the width of your chipboard. So my chipboard is 6, so that is where your first score line would be. And then I'm just going to go 1/8 of an inch. So I've got 2 score lines because this is going to wrap around the width of the depth of your chipboard. Okay. Let me move my scoreboard out of the way. And to make life a lot easier as well, I'm going to trim the extra off. I'm going to just allow enough to stick this to the chipboard. So I've got that going on. So I've got my 2 fine lines, and again give these a good burnish. Where's my tool? I came across, well, I didn't come across this idea. I designed this idea in mind with my retreat project that I did in April with the ladies who came to my retreat, and I sat on it for months. And when I showed them and I said to them, they said, "Oh, we need the chipboard to go in the spine." I said, "No, we're not putting any chipboard in the spine." And when we put it together, all of them agreed how sturdy it was. It's just a game changer. So you've got your little piece here that's going to wrap around your chipboard. So you're going to peel off the edge of your adhesive because this is going to stick to here. So the easiest way I find to do it is to put your chipboard stood in that double part we've put through, the double gusset part if you like. Can you see there? Yeah, and then so you've got that in there, making sure everything's straight, getting that in there, and then you're just going to flap that over, and that's going on the sticky part of your adhesive. Okay, and then what I will do is I will attach some double-sided adhesive here. I've got this is very sticky on a roll just right to the edge. If any of you have watched my retreat project, I actually did use the self-adhesive sheets for this. Okay, Now this is slightly different to the retreat one. I'm going to show you a different way. Okay, so this is slightly different. So we've got that going on. So we've got this flap going on. With our retreat project, we actually created, if I show you on the back page, we actually created another page with that flap. But we're not going to do that today. We're going to use that flap to stick down to stave adding another piece of paper. If you want to see how to do that, check out the online workshop for the retreat. So this is going to sit in here, and you'll see you've got a 1/4 of an inch gap all the way round. That is fine, because this is going to help us fold everything in without any creases. So I'm just going to take that whole lot off there. Take the backing off my double-sided, and we are going to stick that down. So just take your time. If you want to pencil mark, feel free to pencil mark. I'm just going to go down there so you can see you've got that gap all the way around. Okay, turn that over and give that a little burnish. By using double-sided adhesive rather than wet glue or just strips of double-sided tape, this gives you a lovely smooth surface to work on. You know that's stuck. Okay, it's not going anywhere. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do a cut line up on that score line, and we're going to do a mitre. So we'll take that out, and what the mitre's doing is that's going to lay there, so when that lays over there, everything is going to lay nice and flat. Okay, and you're going to do exactly the same with the other side. So cutting up that line, give that a mitre, take that out, and just confirm that when that lays flat, you've got that nice neat edge going on. Okay, so we've done those two pieces. The next bit you're going to do are mitre your corners, and again this is where it's made easy. So you know, normally when you're mitring you've got to come a little bit in, you've got to be careful so you don't get a bunched up part. All I'm doing is I'm putting the ruler across exactly where, let me bring that my camera down a bit, there we go. I'm putting the ruler across exactly where that point is. So I'm going to pop that across there, and I'm just doing myself a score line. In fact, I could use a pencil to share with you, couldn't I? Let me bring a pencil in. Oh, I've moved it. So you're going to do that. Okay, and you're going to do exactly the same on this one. So position your ruler so it goes across the point, and do that. Alright, that's the next thing you're going to do. Then with your scissors, you're going to cut those off. Okay, we don't need those in the bin, and we don't need those, we can put those in the bin as well. So when you fold this over, can you see that that's going to lay nice and flat? Okay, yes, you've got that gap round, but when this all comes together, this is 300 GSM card, so you've now got 600 on there. It's very sturdy, believe you and me. So let's stick all this together. So I'm going to put tape. You could use your double-sided adhesive sheets. What I do on the retreat project, I use the scraps because the scraps are so strong and they're great to add as tape, save your tape. So I'm going to add that onto there and just give those a little burnish. And I'm going to do the same over on this side. I'm going to run out of tape just here. I can feel it. Have I got enough? Just about. Got another one here somewhere. So I'm going close to the edge with the tape. But because we did that little gusset, that is just helping it as well not have to strain over your chipboard. Plus the fact everybody uses chipboard that are different measurements. There's no point in me saying to you cut that 1/8 of an inch or so many points of a centimetre, because you're all going to be using different size chipboard. So that's where it's going to make it different. I'm going to bring the camera up a little bit so I can share with you the next part. So you've got those bits going on. So the first thing we're going to do is take the tape off the chipboard one. This is where I said you haven't got to worry if you've got raggedy edges on your chipboard, because this way of covering books hardcover is so forgiving. Okay, so fold that one over so it sort of rolls over, if you like, and then we'll roll that one over. But can you see it's not, you've got that gap going all the way around. Honestly, try this cover system out. You will be surprised. Okay, so that's the first bit done. Can you see how sturdy that feels? But look, I've got nice crisp edges. I've got no cracking in that 300 GSM cardstock. Next stage, we're going to put this across. So I'm going to take my tape off this piece. And off here. There we go. And I'm going to put a little bit of glue just in the middle as well. Again, I'm just using my EVA as in Pink Frog EVA, because it's acid and lignin free. You've just got to be mindful of doing everything acid and lignin free, particularly if you're using old photographs and memorabilia. But let's face it, the photographs of today are going to be your photographs of tomorrow, so keep everything acid and lignin free. So we've got our little gusset, so we know it's going to fold over nicely, and you're just going to literally flop that over. You haven't got to worry about those sides because we double checked them, and lay that down. And then just go in with your bone folder and make sure right around those edges, that's why I like to put tape around the edges, you've got that nice clean look. Okay, so you're going to need to do 2 of these. I've got another one here waiting in the wings, so I've stuck that down. So let's just recap and do that again with you, because I like to do things in real time. So I'm pulling all my double-sided off the chipboard. Fold that one over, that one over, and that one over, and then just give those a little burnish where the tape has gone. This is going to be a total game changer for a lot of you, because I know as well, when we're making albums, doing the cover, when you can do your pattern papers and it splits and rips and you think, oh, I've ruined my papers, use cardstock. And then you can just go in and add squares of pattern paper on the top, and you haven't got to worry about ruining all your beautiful pattern papers. So a bit of glue on the middle there. flap that over like we did the last one. Again, just go around the edges where you've got your tape, so you've got that all nicely stuck down. I've got a bit of tape sticking out there. Stick that under there, that's it. Okay, so again you've got that nice clean look going on. Everything looks nice on the inside as well. So we've got our two pieces, two covers, all ready for decoration. Okay, I've got a bit of dirty marks on mine, but I'll be covering those with paper, so not a problem. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is to join these together, and again this is going to give you the stability. This is what this is all about. So the first thing you're going to do is on this one, you're going to snip off your two tails, and you're going to cut just inside the score line. Okay, so that's going to go inside there, and then these are going to flap over there. So can you see already when I put that down, I can feel that slightly a little bow. So I'm going to take a little angel's hair off each end again, literally that much. I'm going to do that off both ends. Again, this all goes down to what type of scoreboard you're using and what tool you're using. So lay that in there again. So that can come over there and that can come over there, and that looks absolutely fine. So we can stick this down. Now you can use tape. I'm going to go in with my EVA glue. This dries really super quick as well, but you can see just how much I'm putting on. With this glue you'll find less is best. It is actual bookbinding glue, so it's perfect for these projects. So laying that on there. So if you look, it's going up, it literally butts right up. Let me just stick this down and I'll share with you. It butts right up to that score line. You don't want it over the score line because otherwise your book won't lay nicely. Let me bring that up. Can you see it? There's the score line and that's right up next to it. And then if I flip that over, the same thing again. See, you need that score line to be able to fold, but that's butting right up nicely next to it. So now let me give that a good burnish on both sides so that glue can go right into the fibres of my cardstock. Okay, and then these last two bits are going to go in here as well. So I just love this binding system that I've created. I haven't seen anything like it before. It was just playing around with the retreat project and trying to come up with something new to share with the ladies. So this is going to flap over here. Now this system like this is great for any of your hinge systems you want to add. I personally like to use my cantilever hinge system, and I will do the next video that follows on from this. So if you carry on with it, just let it play through, I'll show you two ways you can do a cantilever hinge system to go in this book. But there you go, that is your book cover covered with chipboard and cardstock. This is 300 GSM cardstock, no ripping, no problem, beautiful corners, nice and mitered, nice and covered, all nice and neat inside, ready for that hinge just to go over those two pieces there. I will share that in my next video. The other good thing I like about this as well is if I bring in my retreat one, this has got the cantilever hinge on it. When you're looking at it, can you see how nice and flat this can lay? This is a chunky book. This is a good substantial album, as a lot of you will know. But look how this lays flat. So when you're viewing it, if I move my charms out of the way, let's bring them up here. Can you see I can actually view it? I can look at it. The chipboard, no chipboard in this spine at all. You don't need it. It's sturdy enough. You don't need extra chipboard. And you're going to find that with this new cover system that I've designed. So I know you're going to love it. That's what amazed the ladies. They said they could not believe it. So basically your hinge is 600 GSM. However, because we flapped that piece over top and bottom, which you are going to cover with your hinge as well, so you're not going to see that. Basically you've got 900 GSM on the top and the bottom. That's why it stands out and it's nice and sturdy. So if you watch the next video, I'll share with you a couple of hinge systems you can put in here with my cantilever style on them, that they will fit nicely in this book. So I'm Dawn from Dawn's Inspirations. Don't forget to press subscribe if you haven't already, and give me a thumbs up and like if you enjoyed that video. And I'll see you in the next video to show you how to put in a hinge.